Hey there, friends and enemies, Jopo here again, and today I need to talk about Monster Hunter Wilds. And this is coming from somebody who has only played a couple hours of any other game in the franchise so far, and I'm absolutely loving this game. I do feel like this is the best starting point for anyone trying to get into Monster Hunter for the very first time. And there's a lot of reasons for that, some of which I know irk some of the more long-standing players in the franchise, but I do think those pain points are worth it in order to invite a lot more players into the Monster Hunter experience and hopefully allow for some greater challenge, greater difficulty, greater adjustments down the road, because it does look like they are going to continue updating this game for the foreseeable future and probably get some DLC like we've seen in the past as well. And so because of all that, I really feel like this is the type of game that a lot of non-Monster Hunter players could jump in and really enjoy. There's a couple things holding it back though, so I kind of want to touch on that as well. If you're looking for incredible narrative experience, this is not going to be the game for you most likely. I do feel like I enjoyed the story, but it wasn't anything super memorable at the grand scheme of things. And a lot of players ultimately skip the cutscenes and everything. And that's something that more veteran players have been frustrated by, is that when you're trying to play co-op, one, you can only join during quests, and two, you really have to sit through a lot of cutscenes and a lot of waiting in order to get to the next hunt during the main missions. So because of that, it does feel like you are separated from your party if you are playing co-op quite a bit, and it does feel like you're waiting around a lot in order to get to the next hunt. So that can be quite a bit frustrating. But the counter to this is that I feel like the weapons feel more readily available for new players to use. I didn't fall in love with any of the weapons when I tested them out when I played Monster Hunter World, and that's probably a me problem at the end of the day, but I also feel like the Insect Glaive and the Gun Lance, which are the two primary weapons I've been using so far, just feel better to combo from what I've played in Monster Hunter Wilds. And I do feel like the curve, probably because it's a lower difficulty, does allow for more mistakes and allow for you to really learn how to use it along the path. And jumping back in, I have a buddy of mine who just got the game, and so jumping back in to hunt monsters with him, I'm now able to use alternate weapons to really learn to love them. And I've got the combos down a little bit. I'm still learning in that way as well, but it does feel like because the difficulty spike isn't there early on, I am free to make mistakes, to learn different weapons, to try out different weapons, and figure out which ones I really want to use. In World, I felt like the biggest problem I had was as I'm trying different weapons, there wasn't as many places to really kind of learn to love them as I do in this game. And again, a lot of that could be just because I'm enjoying myself with this one more, and that's something that I really enjoy. Honestly, I really enjoy testing out different weapons, trying to find the ones that I love. It also helped that I did play the betas as well to try to test some things, but at the end of the day, like I said, I really feel like I'm enjoying myself with this one, which is great because I wasn't sure about Monster Hunter in general. I played a bit of Dauntless, I played some Monster Hunter in the past, but not enough to really stake claim as a main player in this franchise. And I know the difficulty is a controversial subject, and this is something that, for me, is interesting as well. I am a big fan of difficult content in games like Destiny 2 and looter shooters, and games that are MMOs, games like Remnant 2. I love challenge in those ways, but I do feel like the step up towards the challenge is important. Elden Ring is the perfect example of this, where it feels like I'm able to learn, adjust my build, test out some things, maybe farm for some gear, get the right build going, and then I'm able to tackle the next challenge, which is a step up. I felt like Monster Hunter Wilds is another way to do that. If I'm struggling with a certain boss, I can get the armor that I need in order to get resistances that are necessary in order for me to stay alive longer against that boss. And I'm able to craft different items in order to keep myself alive, set some traps, all of that kind of good stuff that I feel like is really enjoyable in this game in a way that I, again, wasn't able to find myself having fun with those older games. And now might be the point where, as I'm learning these weapons, as I'm learning the combos and really enjoying myself, it might be the time that after I've kind of done everything that I want in World, or in Wilds, I'll jump back into World and Rise and those other games in the future and see if I was just missing some of these connections and combinations. Now, it's going to be really difficult not having the secret, the new mount. I feel like that's added a lot with the mobility, with the ability to jump on it when you are downed in order to get up real quick in combat, the ability to use items on the run while your secret's running around. All of that, I think, is an additional element to the game that I personally enjoy quite a bit. Now, I haven't got to the point where I'm fighting the full endgame monsters yet, but I do feel like I'm far enough along to really feel like to say that if you are on the fence about Monster Hunter, if you enjoy the look of the genre but just aren't sold if Monster Hunter is for you, I think this is the game to try out more than any other. I do think the learning curve is is not very deep, so you don't have to jump in, learn everything right away, and then you're going to struggle against all the different bosses. Some of the combinations are incredibly fun, and I've really enjoyed learning them and testing out all the different weapons. So I do feel like this is the perfect time to check out Monster Hunter if you're a fan. And the proof is in the pudding. This is the best-selling and most played Monster Hunter we've gotten so far, and I think that's for good reason because of how much effort they've put into the new player experience, which is not always the case with these games that come out and really need a viable end game. I think it's a tough balance to keep newer players engaged, keep them interested in the game over the long haul, whereas you also want to obviously try to keep long-term players who have been veterans of the franchise for a long time, active as much as possible. So I'd be very curious to see what your thoughts are. Are you new to the franchise? Have you been playing for years, a decade or so, however long the franchise has been out? Let me know in the comments down below. Like the video as always. Comment, subscribe. My name is Jopa. Have a good one. I'll catch you all later.